Welcome to the Super Cheap Auto Bushmechanic Challenge, where we take two four-wheel drives that we buy for just $2 each into the bush on a 7-day torture test. But this time, it's a little bit different. We're heading deep into the outback, so if anything goes wrong with these vehicles, it's going to be up to the bush mechanics to keep them running, because if they can't, they're going to be in big strife. And what are we doing this for? Well, for the grand prize. We like to call it the Manky Manifold. Come on, I'll show you my truck. Well, the only reason I bought this truck is because I found out it had an MP3 player with its own remote control. How good is that? No, just kidding. The real reason I bought this truck is under the bonnet here. It's running the 4JB1T engine, which is a 2.8 litre direct injected turbo diesel Dom. And they're really well known for their reliability. They'll comfortably do 500,000 Ks if they're cared for. Has this been cared for? Well, I certainly don't know, because I wasn't the previous owner, but I think it's looking all right. A few serious oil leaks there, but hey, that's what we came to Super Cheap for.
Well, after that last Bushmechanic challenge, I knew what I wanted. I wanted something big. I wanted something powerful. I wanted something comfortable. Most of all, I wanted something I could afford. So this is what I got. Well, here's my bomb, a mighty 1991 NG Pajero V6. The amazing thing is that in its day, this was a very comfortable vehicle. It still is. It's got the air leveler seats and all that sort of stuff. V6 motor. It's got about 270,000 Ks on. A few tickety-tick noises and whatnot. Automatic, lovely. Electric everything. Some of it works. They reckon you can tell a lot about a vehicle by the kind of stuff you find in it when you're having a good look through. Well, this is what I found under the back seat. Britney Spears tape, a little bit of lingerie, something smelly and some lube. I'm worried about this vehicle, but hey, I might get good dreams if I sleep in it, you never know. Right, all I need to do now is get into Super Cheap before Pat and see if I can get the pick of the best stuff.
Well, I don't know why they call this place Super Cheap Auto. I reckon they should call it Super Cheap Everything, because dead set they offer so much for the four-wheel driver. I mean, we're going to pick up a bit of water jerry can here because we're heading deep into the outback, so we've got to get some extra supplies on this trip. They got camping chairs, they got tables, tent pegs, Barbie tools. They even sell fishing rods.
Well, they might call it Super Cheap, but they've got what I want, the best oil in the world, Penrite. I've said it before and I'll say it again. It doesn't matter if it's a $2,000 car, you don't put garbage oil in it. In fact, the older the thing is, the better the oil you should be putting in it. Good oil makes things last. Good oil, clean filter, hey, we'll get that thing somewhere anyway.
With the amount of Ks on my Jackeroo, I'm going to need a little bit of a helping hand. So I've got this diesel conditioner. It just basically cleans out your injectors and your whole fuel system. The Jackeroo's choking up a little bit at the moment, so I think this should do the trick.
Bringing in the sheets. Yeah, well, it's not exactly a tambourine, but I'm praying this will work. This is the old 181-piece crimping toolkit. You don't go anywhere in something as electric as that Pajero without something to join the wires together when they fall apart. What else have we got? Brake and clutch bleeding aid. I know how much I needed this last time. Some valve saver fluid. Hey, it's going to be a lot more than the valves that need saving, but that'll do.
Stocked up for Super Cheap for the next week, and I reckon I've got just enough gear to keep this truck going. Roothy, he's going to be in big trouble.
Oh, well, I think I've got everything I need to get the old rocket going well here. I've got to duck around to ARB now, get this thing sorted well and truly before Pat.
These things are in reasonably good condition. Just general wear and tear though. Check this out. A lot of movement in them. Oh, just knocked myself out there. And one more.
There's oil all over the thing, and wherever we park it, you know, within minutes there's a bit of an egg cup's worth of oil. There's not a lot we can do about that. That's okay. I'm going to stick Penrite in. It's nice and thick. It's got less chance of coming out, and it'll keep the engine lubricated. That explains why there's no belt on the air compressor. It'd be way too slippery down that end of the motor to do any good. Another problem up the front here's a bit of a crack in the lower radiator tube right at the bottom there. That looks like a job for Chemi Weld or something for the time being. Although I'll be sure to carry lots of chewing gum with me. Come on up the back, I've got to show you something really horrible. And look at these torsion bar rubbers. It's the same on both sides. This one's actually better than the other one. There's heaps of play. There's nothing I can do to get it out really, short of changing everything. We're not going to do that. And the rear retaining rod that sort of holds the axle in place. This one, that one on that side, and the one running diagonal are what's holding the axle in place, which is why when you back off on this thing, she takes a little bit of a skip to one side. When you plant it, it skips the other side. Whole back axle's moving around. That's all right, we'll get away with it. It'll be okay.
Well, the back end of the Isuzu, it's pretty good. Tail shafts are nice and tight, uni joints are great. But up the front, she's a different story. It's dead set oily heaven up here, and most of it seems to be coming from around the base of the filter, so fingers crossed that's all it is. But I mean, there's so much oil here, we're never really going to know where the hell it's coming from. We've got Brad Smith here from Mickey T. Thanks for coming along again, mate.
Thanks, Pat. Good to be here.
Couldn't keep you away, could we?
No way.
Now, it was pretty damn easy for me to choose my tyres for this trip, because I've got a vehicle here that's not overly capable. It's certainly not an off-road mud mauler or rock crawler, so I needed all the help I could get. So I thought I'd use a tyre that's got pretty much exactly the same tread as my competition truck. These tyres are called the Mickey Thompson Baja Claw, and they've got this 23-degree cut on their tread, which is much the same as you run on your plough blades on a farm or something, because that 23-degree angle, it is 23, isn't it, Brad?
It sure is.
That gives you your maximum cutting through the track. Now, Brad, these tyres are a little bit different to the ones on my comp truck. How's that?
The ones on your comp truck are bias belted tyres. These ones, in fact, are radial design, like most four-wheel drive tyres. They've got the patented 23-degree tread angle, and 23 degrees really is the ultimate cutting angle for off-road driving. That, and combination of that and this side biter, will give you the ability to climb out of just about anything. And I guess the benefit of a radial design is it's going to handle so much better on road. So you get the on-road feel of a standard four-wheel drive tyre, and then the off-road traction of a big mudder.
Oh, giddy up, I can't wait, mate.
You probably recognise these tyres. These are Mickey Thompson's MTZs, which I had on the short wheelbase patrol during the last Bushmechanic challenge. I chose them for that because I like the way they look and I like the way they're handled, and I was so impressed with them. We've actually put them back on the Pajero. These are the same tyres too, and despite doing a couple of thousand Ks of all sorts of rubbish, as you probably saw, these tyres don't even look like they've had any damage done to them whatsoever. They certainly haven't had any punctures or anything else. So I'm using them again. But whilst doing that, I was sort of looking through the pamphlet. I don't understand what this power ply thing is. Brad, can you explain?
John, I guess the thing with this new power ply, it's the latest innovation in radial tyre technology. It's radial design, but it has a third ply that runs in a different direction to the other plies.
Oh, okay.
And that helps to tie the others together. So there's two main benefits to that. The first one is it increases maximum torque, so you get more torque to the ground instead of being lost out the back of the tyre.
Flex, yeah, right.
Yeah, through the radial torque twist is the action that normally causes that torque to be lost. This new design helps to reduce that, and then the other thing you get is faster steering response. So from steering input to tyre response is much quicker.
Oh, come on. Get out of my face, I'm having a rest.
Well, we've had a good look at these two bangers, and not bad for $2 each. A few oil leaks, a couple of worn bushes, but I don't think they're going to go too bad. But we haven't hit the dirt yet.
Well, that's the last of the servicing there done, folks. Now it's time for me to wash up and we'll get on the highway and catch up with the other guys. Naturally, we've got a great team on this adventure, including Off-Road Images boss Michael Ellum, who's capturing every moment for Australian Four-Wheel Drive Monthly. Mark Lowry from ARB has joined us again, and he's brought along a few new goodies for us to play with. Johnny Vezos from Track About Off-Road Campers will show us around his Safari camper trailer. And Brad Smith, Stuart Anderson and Mick Schmidt from Mickey Thompson have brought their Nissan recovery truck along for the ride. We jumped on the Great Western Highway and drove through Nyngan and Burke before heading north at Wool Canyon.
I'll just turn my stereo down with my flash little remote control. I tell you what, I'm having a lot of fun in this little Holden Jackeroo. It's a great little tourer, fairly comfortable, although the ride from the back end, she's a bit jiggly, but we knew that before we headed out. But the surprising thing is this car is so frugal, only using about 9 to 10 litres per 100 kilometres.
We've done about 1,000 k's now since picking up these trucks, and the Pajero is just doing better all the time. I've been running it on Vortex and premium fuel whenever I can get it. A good dose of flash lube, that really has sorted out the injectors. The Penrite, of course, has taken all the gunk out of those noisy lifters and lubed the motor up beautifully, so it's not making it's actually a lot quieter now. It's beautiful.
We actually worked out back at Cobar that Pajero was costing it about 35 bucks more to fill the tank than the Jackeroo, so I'm pretty happy about that. And because we put that diesel fuel conditioner in, she's running a lot cleaner and actually feels to have a lot more power too. It's dead set clean, the injectors, and it's blowing less smoke, going like a dead set trooper.
You know, she moves around a bit on the road with that loose suspension and whatnot, but by crikey, this thing's just humming along.
What's happening here?
We bogged. Done well. Straight in on hard tyres last night. Straight into it. Just drop the tyres down. This new deflator's a beauty. Just lets the air out quick as. £16 in the tyres. Drove straight out. Too good.
Roothy isn't the only old ruin on this trip, as Jeff Smith from Cootawandi Station shows.
People living here then.
Yeah. And you were saying before that when your old man was here, they had a pretty serious flood come through.
Yeah, 1956, the floodwaters went through to the top of the fridge, just underneath the doorway, so he decided to move up on top of the hill.
Fair enough, sir. Tell you what, folks, this Cootawandi property, it is something special, but we haven't even seen half of it yet. We're going to head over to the Cootawandi range tonight and set up camp. Got a little competitive rocky section coming up, and where there's rocks you always need to lower your tyre pressures. You do that for a couple of reasons. One, it makes your car ride a whole lot better because these sidewalls actually give your vehicle that little bit of extra suspension, so it's a lot more comfortable. And also, and the main reason is traction. As you can see here, this tyre isn't even deflated yet and it's starting to wrap around the rocks. We drop it down another 5-10 pound and it'll be getting so much traction there'll be no stopping it. Now, we've brought along a new ARB product called the Easy Deflator, and this is fantastic, just released onto the market, and it makes dropping your tyre pressures so simple because it's a two-in-one thing. It's a tyre pressure gauge and a deflator. and it works by actually pulling the valve out of your tyre, so they come down so fast it's quite unbelievable. So you screw her in like so, then you undo the valve with this centerpiece. So have a look at this now. It's just literally folding right over this rock here. There's going to be no stopping this Jackaroo, folks. Oh, here we are on our first competitive stage of the Super Cheap Auto Bushmechanic Challenge, and we're going to be driving over the top of these big hairy buggers. I hope we don't kill our trucks on the first stage. A rocky ride, this one. Oh, ooh. Oh, crunch! I can smell some diesel under here. Yep, sure enough, she's pouring in there.
Alright, well let's get it up on a rock then.
Yeah.
Okay, just come in slow, Pat. Okay, keep coming. Keep coming. Whoa, beautiful. That'll do us. I'll go and get the other bomb. Well, they were big rocks, but they're pretty soft and they roll around fairly well. I mean, as far as rocks go, they're not too bad. They're light. I went through first, so I reckon I sort of cleaned it up a bit for Pat, but he still managed to hang up and puncture that tank, so I reckon I might just sneak off for a cup of tea or maybe one of those green cans. See you later.
It's just in the front right hand corner, and it's just seeping out the fuel. It's probably dropped to a fairly low level. We mustn't have a lot of fuel in here now if it's not absolutely pouring out, but I think if we get our little super cheap box of tricks, we'll be sweet. Well, we've got our magic putty here, and that's going to sort us out. That we used that on the last trip to fix up a radiator, so it comes in very handy. I've also roughened up right around the hole here so that there's plenty of grip, I suppose, for that putty. But the trick is, a bit of a bushman's trick, is to use soap to plug the hole first, so that you just wipe a bit of soap in there and that will stop. So you need this stuff up until it's grey, and you've really got to make sure that it's nice and clean around that whole area. The whole area of the hole. So, and then just before you're about to pop it on, you spit on your hands so that the putty sticks to the tank more so than your hands. So notice it's on a much larger area than the actual hole, but the purchase around that is just going to be fantastic. I don't think we're going to have any more problems with this. That's all nice and set there now. No leaking at all. I'll tell you what, it'll take more than that to stop this little truck. With that problem solved, we went off to discover another competitive section, this time away from the rocks. The next competitive stage, folks, is going to be a good bit of fun. We found a nice flat clay pan, thrown out a few witches' hats, and we're going to do a little figure of 8. Let's get into it.
Well, mate, 171.7 seconds, so he's about 30 seconds slower than you were.
Yeah, I'll put that down to the mighty V6 power.
That's it.
The petrol's got you this time, mate. Or, it's got me this time, actually. But I reckon next time I'm going to take you out.
Is that right?
How much fuel did you use around there, mate, anyway?
I think I used about 20 litres, and I think I spilt another 30 by the smell of the petrol coming out of that can.
As if we didn't need any more dirt, Mike Ellen wanted a few more shots. So our support crew had a go. Only the best, most comfortable vehicle for our camera crew. They wanted to travel in style. Pity Andy the sound guy wasn't prepared for some soft sand.
Backed off. Cool.
So these guys are running 26 pound, was that about it?
Yeah, well that's what my ARP piece put in.
Yes. Didn't you watch our How to Four-Wheel Drive DVD? Dumping the pressure on the Hilux and the trailer, and they were on their way. As you know, I'm running Mickey Thompson Baja claws on this vehicle, and there's some really interesting history about Mickey Thompson. I really like the guy. The side biters that these tyres are running were actually devised by Mickey when he was racing in the Baja 1000 desert race. This is an unbelievable race, and his car was so big and so fast that the biggest problem that he had was he'd race up behind his competition and he'd find it difficult to pass them because he'd be in their ruts and he wouldn't be able to climb up and out of the ruts. And that's where he devised the side biters. So that side biter claws onto the side of the track, lets him pop up, overtakes him, and then he pops back into the track ruts. So he's a pretty innovative guy. The other thing I like about him is in about, I think it was 1967,
he broke the land speed record in a car called Challenger 1. Now, he broke the 400 mile per hour mark. That's miles, folks, not kilometres. And he did it in a car using recycled materials. Cars, you know, car parts that even at that time were around about, 15, 20 years old. So I really like the guy because, I mean, as you guys know, me and Roothy, we love playing with our older vehicles, and that's why we're in these old bangers now. And yeah, Mickey Thompson, not a bad guy.
This looks delightful, Roothy.
Oh, mate, this is magnificent, isn't it?
Oh, it's
terrific.
It's a good little run for us. Lots of deep little ravines to jump into, creek bed, more steep hills.
Yeah, it's like those places you see when you're driving along the highway. You just want to jump the fence and go and have a play,
Yes.
but now we can.
Yes.
What are we going to call it, Pat?
Ooh, how about the Crusty River Run, Roothy?
Crabbing up Crusty Creek. I like it. Let's
Crusty
do it.
River's
Oh, hey, who's going to go first?
Oh, okay, mate. Ready?
Yep. 1, 2, 3.
Hey!
You're first, mate.
Okay. This is nothing, fellas. Just enhancing the contours of the Jackeroo. I reckon it should have come from the factory like that, don't you? The Jackeroo finally got one under the belt.
It did, eh? It's all up to the placement, isn't it? But that was fun, but crikey, I took the wrong angle there. Well, I don't know about this crabbing up the creek, mate, but you won, all right? You're the crab champion.
Oh, thanks, mate.
Well, the Jackeroo finally got up its first win. With that out of the way, we opted to take a scenic drive across the 10,000-acre Cootawandi station.
There we go, just putting the final touches to my little mascot. Her name is Jill, folks, and I reckon every old fourby needs a good mascot. This property, Cootawandi, I tell you what, we've had some fun on it so far. It's got the lot. It's got a 1,200 foot high mountain range, dry creek beds, beautiful gum trees, some fantastic spots to camp. And every year in October, they hold the Cliffhanger four-wheel drive event. It is a serious off-road event. It's got the lot, rocks, mud, sand, it's got the works. And when you come up to spectate, you can obviously camp on the property. So make a date in October, folks, because you certainly won't regret that. I'll tell you what, this backyard of ours we call Australia, folks, it's got some fantastic stuff. Here's one of them. This is called a leopard tree. Pretty easy to see why by looking at the bark, but the amazing thing about this tree is that this used to grow here, this same species grew here millions of years ago. Now, that's not the interesting thing. The interesting thing is that this whole area used to be covered with rainforest, and this tree grew nice and high in a completely different environment.
it was all wet, you know, you would have seen tree ferns and everything around here. Got to get a photo of this one. These trucks have been coping with these tracks far too easily, folks. So we're going to sort that out with this next little run. Check this out. I think we might come away with a little bit of panel damage. Poor old Roothy has got wedged between the mises. The mighty grunt of the diesel had to help him out. Ooh, have a listen as I did a bit of damage to the front of my truck.
How fun was that, Roothy?
Oh, mate, that was awesome. I loved that. That was terrific.
I lost Jill, my mascot.
I saw her fly off. You give Jill a flick.
I did.
Pat and Jill went up the hill.
I think this this side's been given a bit of curry too. I don't know if I've...
Oh dear.
No.
It's a bit narrower too. It's a bit narrower than the standard Jackaroo now, I take it.
Oh dear, that's not going anywhere. Those bloody claws, mate, they ripped it up those hills.
It's amazing, isn't it, eh? Old truck, good tyres, you can go anywhere.
Yeah.
If you give it enough berries, of course.
And how'd you go, mate? I mean, had a few little hiccups there.
It's all those berries I was giving it. I think it was hiccup. No. I mean,
What's the damage report?
Well, much the same as this. She's a bit narrower. I've got 3 doors that don't open, a couple of windows that don't work. Just minor stuff, you know.
Yeah.
But it's going like a train. It's making a few noises now, but I think they're all bushy type, springy type noises.
Not silly automatic transmission-y noises, no.
Well, it has lost the stop on the park now. Now park just sort of lets it roll down hills, making a ratchet noise.
Oh, nice.
That's all right. It's going like a train.
Let's go and find some more.
Good on you, mate.
We left Cootawandi that evening and headed to White Cliffs and a soft bed. Temperatures in Whitecliffs regularly reach above 50 degrees Celsius. So what do you do to escape that heat? You go underground, of course. We're about 30 metres underground here, and the temperature is a constant 22 degrees Celsius. Let's see what Roothy's up to in our room. Roothy.
Hey, mate.
Mate, you're a miner from way back. Does this look anything like your mine?
There's a couple of similarities, not much. Gee, well, you can see the strokes obviously all the way through from the jackhammers.
Yeah.
That's fairly similar. We never would have gone this high because it's too much work. You'd only go your own height in an inch, depending on the size of the level. You know what, I was just talking to Lowmount actually, the thing that is most different for me, and I really enjoyed last night, so I've never slept in an open mine, that was great, done a lot of things in them but never slept in one, and the thing that I noticed that's most different is the lack of noise, because when you're working in an open mine, you've got a jackhammer, jackhammers make a lot of noise and it's all inside this confined space. I mean, I'm still partly deaf from that. And you've got the blower. If you haven't got a blower, you've got, you know, buckets and barrows and shovels. That makes heaps of noise. But the blower sits there whistling away like a giant thing. And you can hear machinery on the surface because your machines are just up there. So I kind of associate open mines with a whole lot of dirt and a whole lot of noise. But you know what? There's one other big difference about this place.
What's that, mate?
It's got a bar. Let's go.
Okay. This place has got a lot. It's even got this sort of conference room thing in here. Keep on coming. We've got a lounge room. Lovely. Ooh, have a look in here. We're getting warm. Nice little cellar. Lovely. And we've hit pay dirt, folks. Have a look at this. We're in the underground bar. Time to go and have a coldie. Next morning we discovered a no-go situation with the Jackeroo, and after eventually forcing the lid up, we managed to sort it out with a surprising amount of ease. Turned out that air was getting into the fuel system, so a few pumps on the fuel line and we were on our way. Was there a few air bubbles there?
Yeah, definitely.
That's my
Give it a
work.
try. I'll be surprised if that's all it is, but it might be.
Then we just had to get the bonnet shut.
Excellent, just like you. Let's go.
Loamy, check this out, mate.
An old hubcap, mate.
It's got the old Holden line on it, which is a bit different to nowadays. It's got the GMH, General Motors Holden.
Yeah, that's pretty old. That's pretty the Commodore, mate.
Turn your new plate, mate.
It's better than those paper ones we've been heading off, eh?
We're in the thick of the mines now, Roothy.
Yeah, too right. This is old country.
So what's the deal with this? I mean, what are the laws? Are we allowed to be here?
Yes. Oh, yeah, yeah. No, everyone's got the right to fossick. And the way it works, essentially, is that miners register in the mining lands, the lands that's registered for mines, they register a 50 metre by 50 metre plot, which they have to stake on the corners, they have to stick a datum board on it, they've got to supply a surveyed vision of that claim to the mines office, and then that's theirs. And essentially it's only theirs underground, but they don't, nobody likes you playing with their machinery obviously on the surface. Yeah. So all this Can't see a datum pole, it's real old country. We can spec as much as we want on this.
Oh, good one. So there's I noticed, Ruthie, there's some square holes, there's round holes. What's the deal with that?
Oh, okay, well the square holes are called Coffin Shafts, and they're the original ones. Up until about the, I don't know out here, but probably the 1960s, 70s, because that's about when the technology came through. Everyone used to dig a coffin shaft, and the reason you did that was because, if you can imagine 6 foot by 3 foot, that's just about enough space to swing a pick and get a bucket in the other end without getting clobbered on your head. So guys would literally sink using a hand winch and hand buckets, and they just go straight down, they just drive straight down until they hit a level. That's a bit of level there, a bit of opal clay. It's pretty hard up here too. And the round holes, in the about the 70s I suppose, they came up with 3 foot drill buckets, and you can sink a hole fairly quickly, and that's how we all started prospecting then. Mike's just found this great big lump of level here. See this little bit of discoloration? Normally, that's how you find your opal. That doesn't look like it is going to be to me. It's not, but it came close. Came real close. A lot of opal you find in fossils, because opal's just glass and it's underneath the old seabed, so you can imagine the water's come through over the years, the pressure and everything else, and glass is just silica and water and pressure and heat, and so that's how it forms, and it usually forms in little cavities, shell cavities, bone cavities, stuff like that, and then if you're really lucky it's got colour in it. That's a bloody beautiful fossil. Far out. What's the green in that then? Yeah, he's low man's found opal. There you go.
Fossilised bone, is it?
It's a fossilised, well, it would have to be either a dinosaur or a dinosaur fish, because it's Cretaceous period.
That's right.
There you go. Yeah, that's a nice bit of fossil. A specimen.
As Ruthie prepared for his next gourmet meal, I did some, well, I suppose you'd call it some bush panel beating.
It's absolutely jammed. I think I'm going to have to give it a bit of a belt. I don't think the Super Cheap boys intended us on using their tools quite like this. Tyre lever, axe. We'll see how we go. As good as new.
Not too far out of White Cliffs, we said g'day to a few not-so-wild desert horses.
It's a bush camp for the night. It's the sun's going down, it's time to cook some dinner. We've got a leg of lamb, but because we lost the spit roast the other night, we're not going to use that. We're going to debone it, do it on the barbecue in lemon. Now this is very much Queensland style. I'd like to thank my mate John for suggesting it. And seeing as we've got a Queensland theme going here, we're Stu and Mick are on the butter pumpkin, of course. Potato, turnips, we're going to do a pumpkin bake to go with our lamb, I hope. We'll see how it goes. Well, without the spit roaster, we've clipped the lamb off the bone. That's what you get when you trim lamb off a bone. I'm going to work that in a minute before we put it on the barbecue. And over here we've got our fabulous iron pot. So what we've done, heaps of potatoes fairly finely cut and heaps of pumpkin. That can go in, guys. Start chucking that in. Put a layer of spuds in first and then just, we don't want it all in there together. Sort of put it in about 1/2 inch and then we're going to pour a little bit of mushroom soup over it. Not too much, probably about 1/4 of a can at first. Probably spoon a little bit of cheese spread on there at that stage too. Then we'll build it up in layers like that. Potato pumpkin with our reducers, as we call them, in between. I'm cooking this because this is all we got, but it's going to taste all right. Over here, big dob of olive oil. It should be olive oil, but we lost that, it broke. And I'm going to work the meat over with that, well and truly. That makes it nice and sticky. At this stage, soy sauce. Can cook lamb without soy sauce. But what we do. I use soy sauce on every sort of meat. As a rule, it works. It's just good stuff. Garlic in a tube. I love this stuff. Beats the heck out of crushing it up. Just put lots in. A bit more soy. A bit more margarine. Now this is the killer ingredient, the lemon. We're going to be pouring lemon on all the way through while we barbecue it on. We're going to put some on now too, just to get in there with the garlic. All right, nice sloppy mixture, and off we go. Now you've got to knead it right in. This will be lovely. How you going, guys? Good stuff. That's the way. Now we're going to finish off the veggie bake with a layer of crushed up barbecue chips. Okay, that's going to work. We'll just crush them up inside the bag and sprinkle them all over, and then lots of slabs of cheese on top of that. So the cheese will melt and get a nice, hopefully nice crusty bit on the top with a bit of luck, a bit of flavour. Look at that. Beautiful. And over here the veggie bake's ready to go. Cheese is on top. Lid on. Our magic chips are in there. This goes on the fire. Right. We've flattened out the fire. Pulled some coals over to one side. On goes the pot. That's going to need rotating occasionally because that's the hot side. And because we've got cheese on top, lots of coals on top. With our one and only cooking implement. All the rest fell out the back of the Pajero.
So Roothy, have we got a name for this one yet, mate?
No, mate, I've been waiting for you to come and give me one as usual.
Well, you were telling me the other day about your Lightning Ridge days when you used to eat a few woolly pigs, I think you called them.
Right. Okay, well, there's going to be a few people out there who know what a woolly pig is. Yes?
So I was thinking we could have woolly pig with veggies in a fly-blown cheese sauce.
Okay, mate, if that's what you want, that's what we'll call it.
Excellent.
Because I got no idea what to call something with potato chips in, really. Ooh, look at that. There we go, woolly pig lamb and veggie bake straight out of the fire. That's going to taste beautiful. What do you reckon, guys? You want to eat?
Oh, yeah!
Come on then.
That is just awesome. Absolute 5-star meal.
One of your best, Roothy. Well done, mate. That lemon's actually really infused into that lamb.
Hasn't it, eh?
That's done great.
Beautiful.
Nice one.
When you're running vehicles as hard as we do, especially out in the outback, it's essential that you have good lubricants and coolants in there, which is why we went to Super Cheap and got hold of the Penrite and the Castrol. And it's essential that you check them every day too to keep those levels right up. Now, I'd like to say that the little Pajero hasn't used any oil at all. It's been fantastic. It was using oil before, it was leaking like a sieve, but the Penrite, being a thicker oil, stiffened it up, no problem. Coolant, well, as you know, it had a couple of cracks, one in the head and one in the radiator. But this cargo seal stuff we got from Super Cheap, I put that in on day one. We haven't had a problem since. This thing's running like a rocket. I should just mention too, this little testing light I got from Super Cheap. I like it because it's not little, it's big. You can really see it and it works well. Okay, well I guess we've got a few hundred Ks to do today, so we better get into it.
When you're packing your truck up for your four-wheel drive trip, you really never know what's going to come in handy and what's just going to sit there and gather dust. On this trip though, we're nearing the end, and here's some of the gear that's come in handy for me. The big thumbs up, this diesel conditioner gear, it's from a mob called Flash Lube. Obviously we picked it up at Super Cheap, and that stuff, I was thinking, you know, this is working really, really well, but then I experimented and I left it out of a tank, and boy oh boy, I dropped probably about, felt like somewhere between 5 to 10% power in this vehicle. So it's definitely definitely something that works and something that I'll stick in my own truck. This light has got a truckload of use. It's made with a whole heap of LEDs in there, so it doesn't suck a whole lot of power. Got a butte long cord and a little switch on the back so you can flick it on and off at your campsite, and a hook on the end. What more could you want? Oh, one last thing, the camp table. Cost 50 bucks from Super Cheap, and hasn't it got some use? That thing's been loaded up to the gunnels every single night.
Oh, probably the most common screw up when you're mucking around in the bush is a flattened exhaust pipe or a missing exhaust pipe. Symptoms are the vehicle starts to run out of power and it starts to make a lot of hissing noises. The Pajero hasn't run out of power, but I know I gave it a pounding. I've just straightened one and I've heard it hissing quite a bit from the rear, so we better go and have a look at that. Well, look at that. It's folded over at the back too. Well, I guess that's not surprising given what we've been doing with it. The tow bar's bent up just as much. I'll just straighten this out. I reckon my old mate Cookie, you'd be proud of me for that. What an exhaust pipe repair. Wherever we've gone on this trip, there's one vehicle that's just laid people out wherever we went, and that's Johnny Trackabout's F250. Now, John's raced Toyotas for years, and he's always had Toyotas and stuff. This big F transplant thing, it only happened a few weeks ago, didn't it?
Yeah, I bought it about a month or so ago, Roothy. I basically bought it to tow the comp truck.
Yeah.
It's the old 100 series getting a bit tired in the leg trying to pull nearly 4 tonne.
Well, this has got the 7.3 V8, hasn't it?
Yeah, got the 7.3 litre and we've got the super chip in it.
Yeah.
It gives it about another 90 odd horsepower. So.
And it's got a few other mods too, hasn't it? It's a lift kit and suspension, shockies all round.
Yep, that's
What else
right.
has it got?
Pretty much. Well, it's got the dual shocks, front and rear. We're running the Mickey Thompson Dick CPAC tyres. They're probably one of the only tyres out there with a good load and speed rating, so we chose those. Very happy.
They're the specialty fitment too, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mickey Thompson's one of the few that do that. The tray's a beauty. How are you going with that?
Yeah, pretty good. The tray's design, it's got a drop toolbox in it which slides out.
Yeah.
And we chose the double polished aluminium bars just to make it look a bit spanky.
She does look spanky. I mean, it's got LED lights all over it. The other day we had a fairly disorientated younger hippie looking chap outside the pub and when John pulled in he thought Spaceship Enterprise had hit town. He was spinning around there for a while, wasn't he, looking at the stars. Now I note you've got a fridge up the back of the tray,
yeah,
but it looks to me as if it's been specially modified to carry another 40 litre fridge between the driver and passenger seat. Is that right, John?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you're driving along and you want to have a cold drink or a sandwich or something and it's all there at your
I've noticed that, mate.
fingertips.
I've noticed both fridges chock-a-block with bananas and apples and oranges. Yes, I've noticed that. She's a beaut truck. I tell you what, there's nothing quite like the sound of a really big block V8 diesel going past. It's lovely. And talking about that, I suppose we better hit the road, eh?
I think we should.
Good on you, mate.
Well, I'll be honest, when we left home, I thought Roothy'd have a bit of an edge on me. You know, he's got the big Pajero 3 litre V6 under the lid, and that thing does seriously motor. I mean, for a truck that's built in 1991, it really gets up and goes. But it's been great because, I mean, this truck's certainly been more efficient than Roothy's. But the great thing is, you know, in all the 4 sections that we've done so far, Roothy's won 2, and I've won 2. So we're locked at the moment. It seems that the little Jackeroo, the little 4-cylinder turbo diesel, just tractors around and does beautifully on the really slow stuff, and Roothy kills me in the high speed stuff. So they're pretty evenly matched so far, folks. So only one deciding event to go. Let's see who picks up the Mankey manifold.
Oh, we've got a bit of a stoppage here. The Pajero stopped and won't start again. Feels like a vapour lock or something, but we've had the cap off. Here, have a listen to this.
Have a look for the fuel return line off the...
Return over. Johnny, just hold her on the starter. Okay, thank you. This is the sort of curly one you get with more modern cars. Shows how old I am, I guess. This thing's 15 years old. But we've managed to, at this stage, eliminate a few things it isn't. It's not spark, it's got constant spark. It's not compression, it's hard enough to turn over. It's more than likely got to be something to do with the fuel system, but it feels like something weird, like a fuel solenoid that's switching off or something. It possibly might just be a blocked filter, but we've got a bit of fuel coming through, so I'm just going to slowly try and eliminate a few things. We'll try the start you bastard up the hose with a bit of distance. That'll be our next step, just see if it runs on and sucks itself free. If not, it'll be underneath and looking for the fuel filter. Here we go. Yeah, it's definitely fuel. It'll run on this. Well, we don't seem to have any power back to the fuel pump, so I'm kind of hoping that's the problem. I'm going to check this just by running neat power back off the battery, see if the fuel pump works off that. If that's the problem, then we'll look somewhere in between, or we might just hot wire it to the tail lights. We'll see how we go.
Tell you what, you wouldn't believe where we've broken down here. Check this spot out. Fantastic gibber playing out to one side. We've got this lovely little historic can here. You wouldn't want to be broken down in any other country in the world now, would you?
What's probably screwed it up is this. I don't know if you can see that, but the filter basket hasn't been working for a long time. So all the rocks and rubbish and stuff that's been shaking around in that tank for the last 15 years has been going through the pump. That's probably what's wrong with it. It's probably blocked up. Normally it's a non-serviceable item. I'm going to try a few things with it because we're not going to have much luck getting one of these out here. But normally once they're gone, which is why the older generation like me prefers carburetors. We can just strap a tin on the roof and a pipe and off you go. Bloody new computer stuff. It's only a 1 in a million chance that we might be able to clean this out, get it ticking over again. Yeah, I'll start you bastard. It's good stuff for cleaning and starting. Okay, now I can see in there the teeth on the impeller, so I'm just clicking them over a few times.
You ever used start your bastard on a fuel pump, Roothy?
No, but I have used it to start other things in the past, so it's you never know. Let's just see. Okay.
All right, Mark.
Give a mark. Look at that!
Whoa.
Must have been jammed with something. Righto, we'll put it back together, see if it goes.
Well done, mate. I thought you were gone. I thought I had you.
No way, mate. But you've been sabotaging me, haven't you, hey?
I wasn't climbing into your tank, mate.
Everyone clear?
All clear.
Good on you, low mount. Beautiful! See that? We're underway. Thank you.
One long and unbearably hot summer back in 1845, Captain James Sturt came to this place that he called Depot Glen. He was in search of the infamous inland sea. Of course, he never found that sea, but while he was here, camped for around about 2 months, his crew got very sick. In fact, his 2IC, James Poole, died. The grave of James Poole is actually around about 1 kilometre up the track, but while they were here, they at least had a little bit of water.
Oh, mate, diesel versus petrol. These tough little trucks are doing well, aren't they? What's that, 2 each, isn't it? 2 each?
It is, mate. So I think we need a decider. We're in Milparinka, we've made it.
I agree, yep. Well, what are we going to do? I mean, we're here.
Okay. First one, around the Milparinka racetrack and back at the pub, wins.
Oh, all right then. Perfectly good pub, though.
And we're racing in the Milparinka 1000. It's patsky all the way. I can't see Roothy for the dust. I've given him the slip. Can't even see him in the rearview mirror. Oh, this is great. I did need the head start. I am in the diesel Jackeroo. Go, you good thing. Giddy up. Coming around the bend here. Oh, she's a nice tight one. I still can't see him in my rear views. Maybe he's just eating my dust. Ah, yeah. Where the hell did you get to?
Oh, well, you know how it is, mate. I was a bit too close to the pub. But that's all right. I reckon I won this anyway. Have a beer.
Thanks, mate. I don't think so. I think that belongs on a Jackeroo, mate.
No, it doesn't, mate. Petrol power. Petrol power all the way.
Gas guzzler.
Welcome to Roothy's Ruthless Tales. Go on, grab a slice of fair dinkum, Australia. Get your dose of Roothy and put a smile on your dial.